This podcast is brought to you by the shop at artificery.com. Visit the shop at artificery.com for Star Wars Destiny boosters, subscriptions, and singles, as well as other great curated tabletop games such as X-Wing, Dragonfire, and now Keyforge and Transformers CCG. Find out more at artificery.com.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Artificery Cast. This is Hexen, your host, and join me as always is Zero Hour.
Yo.
And Lassie.
Yo, what? I don't get to go first this time? What happened? Are you that upset at me?
You came late. You're not. I'm just reading down the order of list of what's on my screen. You're at the bottom. You're at the bottom of the totem pole. You know what you did.
There were extenuating circumstances. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, guys, we did it. Across the galaxy. It lives. It's out. We have cards. Who's excited?
I'm excited.
I'm ready for new cards. This is like, I say this every time a new set comes out, but when a new set comes out, that's my favorite time to play basically any card game. There's like so many new things that you can try and play out, and everything is so fresh and new, and there's not like the pressure of performing at a tournament or anything like that. It's all just like super casual, and you talk with people about your lists, and it's real exciting. I love this time of year.
It really is the best when a new set drops. Your local scene somehow shows up again. You see people you haven't seen in ages. It's a good time. Good time to play Destiny.
Oh yeah, it's great. And I mean, I'm seeing that with X-Wing right now too, just because, 2.0 is out now. So everything's just kind of insane. And my favorite time to play is when there isn't really an established meta. And you just throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
Definitely. And with that, we have a few decks we're going to cover today that we think might be a pretty good time to try out with some of the new stuff primarily. So without further ado, we're going to lead off with a Cassian Jin deck that Zero Hour has been looking at.
I am super excited for Cassian Jin. I finally get a Jin that's like playable, so that's fun. And I think my favorite part about Cassian Jin is that you can build it for damage or for mill pretty effectively. Either
and real
way.
Quick, for our listeners, just to give them the rundown on Jin, because good radio. So for those who don't know, we got a red Jin Urso with 12 health, 16 elite, with just insane, a very consistent die with 2 range, modify 2 range, discard, blank. And do you want to take away what she does with her activated ability?
Yeah, so after you activate her, you get to look at the top 3 cards of an opponent deck and rearrange them, and then you can discard the top card. So Jin with that ability, plus Cassian with his ability, is just Mill City. Or Damage City. You can do either because her die is really good.
Or you kind of just do both, right?
Yeah, you kind of just do both.
Time.
And it's like, even if you're not building for mill, you can just build straight damage and just be insanely disruptive.
Yeah, Jin's super cool. I played against her in the staff challenge at Nova, and despite the fact that like it was a very fast-paced and casual game, we'll just call it, she does a lot of like kooky stuff, especially when you get her blaster in the mix, which helps her discard additional cards. Like, she's super consistent, and the discard isn't always like the win condition, but it's really easy to swap over to that if you need to, if things are getting really tight, or if you just want to get rid of the rest of your opponent's hand. It's pretty diverse, and I think she's going to be a lot of fun to play with.
It's pretty gross, you mean? I remember that staff challenge. You kind of just like looked and you were like, my deck is gone. What happened?
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I was like playing super quick and I was like, oh, I have 2 cards left. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like a really cool pairing. The fact that like we have 2 red discard sides on Jin Urso for that commando raid action. We've all seen how devastating that's been with the red Leia, even though that deck didn't really gain in popularity. We saw how strong that card is.
I mean, you get pretty much all the good hero toys with red and yellow. almost all the good hero toys.
My big concern with Jin anything really, is the fact that she is super poor. Like, she obviously doesn't have a
Yeah.
resource side on any of her dice. So you get into a situation where you're really strapped for resources, and Cassian's probably the only place you're going to get it consistently. Like, what kind of cards are you slotting in order to help mitigate that issue?
I mean, Long Con is actually kind of not terrible in here. It's not great, but it never hurts. Otherwise, you just kind of save. I think like you don't spend a lot except maybe for mitigation, because their character dice are super good on their own. You want upgrades because you always want upgrades, but you can play them later, I think.
Yeah, getting a peek at essentially like what their next hand will be, just having that information available to you, just seems super annoying. Obviously, like I feel like if you have the ability to kill Cassian first, you kind of go for it, right? Before a
Yeah.
second chance comes down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
But outside of that, like leaving Jin alive at the end is so annoying.
Yeah, it can get rough because she's just good.
Now, I know you're a filthy mill player. So
Yeah.
are you, when you're building this deck, are you looking to have like a 50-50 split of damage and mill focus stuff? Are you looking to have a full mill deck? Like, what's your plan going forward with the first couple of attempts that you're going to make with this deck?
I mean, the first thing I've looked at really is damage, and just use the mill as just disruption. But I definitely want to build a straight mill version of this because I think you can do it. It's just there's probably better options if you're going straight mill for hero. And I mean, you would just basically use the damage to ping off maybe weaker characters like a battle droid, or which I'm sure we'll see a decent amount of in this set, and stormtrooper, Greedo, small stuff.
We were saying that like a actual straight mill version might get there with some tools.
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine this deck wants to be fast also.
yeah. I think like I'm gonna try to build straight mill, but there's probably hero decks that are gonna do it better.
I think
Like,
part of the thing that you want with Mill is like that survivability,
yeah,
and Jin's lack of resources would probably hurt it more than
it does.
actually her die helps. So I would imagine you probably want to use the Mill as like a ancillary thing rather than your primary goal. But I definitely think that it has the capability of being potent. But if you're gonna go with like a 2-character Mill, I think Yoda casting is probably still king there for
Yeah,
heroes
it
right now.
probably is. It feels
I
better.
mean, you can, survive by just straight up killing somebody. That usually helps to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even if you're going straight mill, you can kill things quick because their dice are good. So you can just kill smaller characters fast. Hopefully fast enough.
I mean, yeah, I imagine so. I imagine this is a deck we're going to see a lot of in standard play. And
Oh yeah.
might even trickle into some trilogy play because we have 3 sets. We have
Yes.
a complete block. It's cool. It's exciting. Trilogy is going to be more exciting. We actually have cards to play with. So, a deck I'm excited to try out, at least in a trilogy form, is the new Han Solo with Biggs Darklighter and Armored Reinforcement Plot. So, we're getting both of these bad boys at Elite. For those of you who don't know, Han Solo is a neutral legendary character, clocking in at 11 health for 15 at Elite, with the die side 2 range, 1 discard, resource, special, and the special is deal 2 indirect damage to an opponent. You may, of course, reveal a villain card to force an opponent to lose a resource, or reveal a hero card to gain a resource. So obviously we're playing in heroes, so we're using this ability more for ramp. And pairing him with the oh-so-lovely Biggs Darklighter, who, even though he's coming in at 9 health, which is a little frail, he has a pretty strong die for damage with 2 range, modified 2 range, indirect, disrupt, resource, and after you activate this guy, you may activate one of your vehicles, and then you may reroll any number of that vehicle support and mod dice. So the reason why I'm liking this lineup is with the armored reinforcement plot, which we can spend as an action to just tutor a vehicle from our deck or discard pile and decreasing it by 1. The only vehicle I want to have in that deck is the starter Falcon, which after you activate this support, you may activate one of your characters. So you can get this down pretty easily. Turn 1, it costs you 3. You get solid damage dice, and then for the rest of the game, you have the chain of activate Biggs, and to activate starter Falcon, and to reroll Falcon, and to activate Han Solo.
Seems pretty sexy. And especially considering the fact that you can just hit and run that out, like, it gives you the opportunity to do some really wonky things. Are you ever even considering like grand entrance?
Grand entrance might be a possibility. Of course, we don't get hit and run in the trilogy setup, but I think this deck can also have standard legs. But what I also like about this is, since we're pretty much guaranteeing the Falcon, like, filtered out of our deck, we can just load up the rest of the deck with like the dice mod upgrades that we've seen, which are all super effective dice for their cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like one of the more effective ways to pretty much run that style of deck, because you pretty much just want to see the mods. Like, we have the dorsal turret, which is pretty much just a 1-cost DH-17 for your vehicle. We have the DH. Pretty much after the Falcon, every upgrade dice in this deck costs 2 and under.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only character upgrade for this deck I decided to like throw in is like an E11 blaster in Trilogy, because it's just a redeploy gun that we just throw on our characters because we're just rolling out all the dice. And say Biggs goes down, you still have a Falcon which rolls out and then follows up and rolls out Han. And the equivalent of a hit and run in Trilogy is attack run, which just says activate one of your supports and it has ambush. So this deck can still kind of do those like cheeky kind of ambush action cheat plays, and we're rolling out big dice. We're rolling out hopefully some pretty consistent damage. We're going to be playing on the Theed battlefield, which has a power action of just gain a resource, and if you spot a neutral character, you may take an additional action. So there's a lot of fun things going on in this deck that I think will be really cool in the format.
Are you rolling with any other supports, vehicles, or are you just like focusing on Falcon and the mods?
Pretty much just focusing on Falcon and the mods. I expect games to go fairly quick with what we've seen. I don't know if there's time to really set up another vehicle. And if I was to put in another vehicle, it would probably be some cheap support. Otherwise, I just want an upgrade for my character, because I want to just keep it lean and like just have those things set up so everything kind of just rolls out together.
You don't want to run Escapecraft in here at all?
I mean, that's true. You could put in the single Escapecraft, and it does attach to this version of the Falcon, which is pretty fun.
It almost sounds like a version of
Resource Generation Shields
Finn Maz that was kind of like very, very briefly popular at like local stores and store championships during the last meta. Basically, for those that aren't aware, it just basically cheats out and uses Maz's ability to resolve dice to kind of like kick out damage really quickly without being able to have any opportunity to interact. This kind of seems like a less consistent but more punchy and more sustained version of that. I'd actually be kind of interested to see how this plays out, and not only in Trilogy but also just in Standard, to see if it has legs. Do you even like consider a holdout blaster just because it stays on the board pretty much as long as you need it?
I would take a holdout blaster over E11 because that's just more consistent direct damage sides.
Gotcha.
Plus, in Standard, you have like the fun tools like the hyperspace jump and the retreat, and the second chances, of course, for Han. And what I like this more than that, like Finn Maz version, is that if that deck didn't like get its Rex's blaster like turn 1, it felt slowish. Here, you have your just like character cheat card with the Falcon, just chaining it out.
Yeah, I like the idea of tutoring the Falcon. Like, that feels like it could have a lot of potential and seems super exciting.
Yeah. it's also super scary. Like, say Han goes down, like Biggs is no slouch on his own when you have a Falcon that's modded, because Biggs does reroll all of the Falcon's dice, so you can like get a little more consistency out of there. So I think it's like both targets are kind of tough to choose, and it's something that I'm just really looking forward to trying out.
I mean, dropping that Falcon turn 1 is terrifying.
Yeah. For those that don't know, the starter's Falcon die side consists of like a 2 range, a 3 range, a 4 indirect for resource, a 2 shield, a 2 resource blank. Obviously, not the most exciting of the support ships for its cost, but when you're reducing it and guaranteeing it out in the first round of the game, it becomes just that much more terrifying of a threat.
Like, we're always talking about how consistent decks are always the best way to go, and anytime you can churn out more consistency with your deck, that's always preferable to any alternative, really. So the idea of being able to have a consistent turn 1 Falcon play seems really, really good, and like a very interesting mechanic to play around with. So I'm interested to see how that plot pans out, and I definitely want to see some turn 1 Falcon shenanigans. That's definitely going to be really cool.
I just
I
like the
definitely
idea
think
of turn 1 Falcon, activate Biggs, activate Falcon, activate Han, and it's like, all right, well, there you go. Or
Deal with
turn,
my
you know,
dice piles.
Yeah,
yeah,
especially if you have the opportunity to action cheat and just be like, ha ha ha, take this. You can't do anything about my damage. I could
Especially
see
in
some
standard
wonky
play.
things happening.
Especially hit and run in standard play. It's so gross in this deck. You're just like, hit and run my whole board?
Yep.
I almost for that reason wish Trilogy was more popular. I wish FFG had more Trilogy events and just more opportunities to play with those cards. It specifically because I can't wait for rotation to happen. Like I'm so stoked. I like the fact that we're getting rid of a lot of cards that have gotten way stronger over time as like things have started to getting more balanced. So yeah, like I wish Trilogy was bigger because I don't see anybody playing Trilogy unless like there's a GQ.
Honestly, Trilogy really picked up like in the latter half of like the past couple months in my local scene at least, because it felt like people were just really tired of like the standard meta, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are ready for like a meta shakeup, and if you thought like a new set was exciting to build around meta wise, wait until a rotation happens.
Yep.
When we have to just build from scratch.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited. So you guys mentioned a bunch of 2 character lists, right? And one of the big baddies in Way of the Force has been these 3 character lists that have really beefy, awesome economy blue characters in them, i.e., Snoke and Yoda. So, how do you feel that the meta is going to adapt to these characters that were already using all these supports and like churning out a bunch of damage with just like resource economy and just focus efficiency? Do you feel like this is going to make Yoda and Snoke better, or do you feel like characters that are more red yellow, or the character suites that are more red yellow, are going to have an edge now that we have all these cool new toys to play with?
I think red yellow will get a little bit of an edge because I mean, what's her name? Iden really shuts down a lot of the action cheating, and I think we're gonna
I'm not
see
crazy
her.
about Aiden because she has that awkward statement of her dice need to be there before you action cheat your
True.
dice out ahead of her.
It's true.
I mean, I just like I look at the new characters that we have, like Lando, right? Lando is kind of the economy vehicles hero character, right? Does he ever really outclass Yoda in terms of just overall awesomeness? I mean, Yoda's focus is so good, his special is so good, especially when it's tied with like R2D2. It's really hard to outvalue Yoda. Do you think that these new characters are gonna like slide in at all? Because I'm still looking at Yoda and Snoke and I'm thinking, wow, unless these guys get a point bump, I can't imagine that they're going to go away, especially in this vehicle heavy meta. Like the first thing I want to play is taking Snoke Bazine Trooper and throwing a fist or two in it and seeing how that runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think that wider decks are gonna have a lot more things to deal with now, since Across the Galaxy has actually given us quite a few tools to deal with wider decks and punishes, and for
Yes.
having like more characters with like
Talking about
yeah,
Vader slaughtering everybody.
not just Vader, also the new Leia, whose special is ridiculous. That just she pretty much has a thermal detonator on her special, and she pairs, unfortunately, so well with Yoda that it's just gonna be. It could be a slaughter fest first. Some of these wider decks where it's just like, oh, as soon as I get like a villain card out on the board for lay at a spot, you're just taking like 3 damage to all your characters off her special, which is so easy to chain off Yoda. That is
Yeah,
terrifying. And of course, yeah, Darth Vader.
it's
Pretty
pretty
much
nuts.
blue is coming to slaughter the wide blue. Big Daddy Vader is gonna cut down all these wide decks. Leia's coming down. It's the Skywalkers are gonna come here and take over the wide decks.
I mean,
Out of
Leia's the new stand-in for Hondo and Yoda Hondo. Like it's just Yoda Leia now, right?
I still think there's gonna be Yoda Hondo decks for sure, because Hondo is also in that sweet point cost where you get like that double down plot. So
Hmm.
there's gonna be those two
That's
decks.
true.
But no, Leia, like the Yoda Leia pairing is one to watch out for if like this meta continues to be so wide. But I think that's good for this game. It's like we need to start having considerations, and hopefully we reach that point where we get more rock paper scissors format. Because right now it's been leaning really heavily into like these big villain support decks.
Okay, so Devil's Advocate is rock paper scissors actually good, especially if we don't have sideboards? Because like once it gets into rock paper scissors, you're just praying that your matchups are good. You know what I mean?
I
It's
know what
true.
you mean, but it's like I'd rather have more various decks to like bring out that. Obviously, you want to take the deck that has the most consistency versus majority decks, but I want to reach a point where it's like every deck at least has a weakness, and that weakness isn't like shut down and isn't too like silver bullety for it to not be able to handle other things.
Yeah, because
I
that's
mean,
basically the R2P2 meta, right? Where like that deck isn't. It doesn't just absolutely beat things into submission. It just doesn't have bad matchups.
continuing with the advocacy, what do you think that Way of the Force was a healthy meta? Like, was that a good meta game? Because my gut instinct is that as weird as it was and as frustrating as it was to have to deal with Mill for so long, I actually feel like, especially looking at the Nova meta and how things developed from there, I think if we had a shorter meta game between when Way of the Force came out and Across the Galaxy came out, and we didn't have this like gap that we're just like waiting for things, I feel like Way of the Force was really good if it was just shortened a little bit. You know what I mean? Because the Nova experience, I felt there was a lot of diverse decks. We were constantly seeing new things show up. We were seeing old things pop up that were considered essentially dead. And I don't think that was necessarily rock paper scissors, but for that brief moment, there were a few weeks there where it was, I think, really good.
Oh, I definitely agree, because we reached a point where it was pretty much this deck is good this week, and then the following week a deck showed up that beat it, and then that became the top dog, and then the following week a deck showed up to beat that, to kind of beat that, and then like later down the road it was like a deck from early on reared its ugly head to like beat down the deck that deck was beating down the other decks. I mean, I thought that was a really cool meta that you had to keep adapting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like when the game's always kind of shifting like that, and it's not just R2P2 winning everything.
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't want to I don't want a rock paper scissors meta, especially with Destiny, because there's no sideboards, there's no way to really respond to it. You're just praying that you're going to an event where you're not going to face the deck that just kills you. But I also obviously hate the R2P2 meta where it's just like, yeah, everybody's playing this deck and it's the best thing and there's nothing to really do about it. So like I'm just hoping we get something in between that kind of represents that Nova era that we were in with Way of the Force. And I'm excited. I like the fact that we're getting excited about 2 character lists. There are several 3 character lists that are looking pretty good. I'm crossing my fingers that Yoda and Snoke have a answer in this meta, or a way for other character suites to get at the same level that they're at, but I'm apprehensive about whether or not that's actually the case.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other thoughts on your end, Zero Hour?
Yeah, I mean, I always appreciate when things happen in big tournaments and you take a look at the top cut and you're like, what the hell is that deck? And, and it's always something like you just didn't see coming. And I think that's always fun and that's always good because it keeps people kind of on their toes.
Nova was beautiful because there was like a Luke Ray deck in day 2 that in like the second day that made it to the day 2. I guess technically day 3, but like that deck was like at the top table for like the longest time.
So final comment, final question, final devil's advocacy. What is going to be the one character that is introduced in this set that is going to be the Yoda or the Snoke or just the big frustration, or even like the Anakin? You know, it appears in one deck and everybody hates them for a little while because it's so frustrating to play against.
Nobody hated Anakin. They all hated his stupid pod racer.
Yeah, and he's sitting in it.
Now this is pod racing.
Like, if that pod racer wasn't there, people were like, oh, he's fine. As soon as that pod racer comes out, it's like, this little punk.
Definitely.
No, I know what you mean.
Dryden Voss. No.
No. Stop it. You're banned forever.
I don't know, man. He's got to sneak up on you. Just you wait. My time is coming.
I'm going to say Han. I think Han's good, and at 15 as a neutral, I think we could see him pop up in a lot of decks.
Honestly, it's tough. Like, Jin is going to be obnoxious, obviously.
Yep.
Vader is going to be a monster.
Yes.
Yep.
But I kind of want to hang in there for Kit Fisto, man. Like, he has such a neat ability to, like, block damage by, like, removing just, like, dice showing, like, melee sides.
I like Kit a lot, too.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that there's going to be a vehicle deck with L3 that's going to drive people bonkers, and people are going to whine and complain about how good her dice are.
Oh, man. L3's dice are amazing. I love her so
L3's
much.
really good. I'm really excited to play with her.
Especially, like, in a trilogy format, too. Like, I always loved me that Rose Wedge hired gun list, but I could easily like swap out hired gun for an L3. Just having those like focus sides additionally is just so beautiful.
I mean, a 2 focus on that die is so good.
I just want someone to find the pairing of, and I know we hate Anakin because he's a little shit in his pod racer, but he is like best friends with L3.
Yeah.
I just want to flip to that 2 focus like all day, man. It's like, haha, stop me now.
I really want to rock a 4-wide Battle Droid, Super Battle Droid deck.
No, get out of here.
I think that's going to be stupid and awesome.
That sounds like Cody and 3 clones.
Hell yeah. Bring it.
I don't think either of those decks makes it. I think they'll be fun casually, but I don't know.
I want to see those decks go at one another.
I mean, mono decks have to bring some serious like early power to the table, I think, to be super worth it. And I don't know if either of those do, but
we talked about this, I think, on a different podcast. But is there enough for Lando L3 Anakin to work?
The issue I have with Lando right now is that he's hero. Like, villain has all the cool yellow ships.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't understand why he's not neutral.
Yeah, that would probably because he'd fit way too well with villains.
Right.
Probably because we had way too much neutral shit going on right now.
But like, I've seen Solo. He's totally neutral.
He flies away.
He's more heroic.
No, he's not.
No, he leaves.
Yeah, he's like, peace, bitch.
I got my money. Or didn't. I guess he didn't get his money and left anyway.
He just got fucked. I lost my chip. I lost my droid. This taste sucks. That's fair. No, I could have seen him be.
I mean, I get
neutral
from
character.
a design perspective why he's not neutral because, yeah. But, like, thematically, he should be a neutral card.
Like, I don't know, just pair him with, like, some Jawas and just scrap your Falcons after you play them for a discount so you can play more Falcons.
If you could bring all 3 Falcons to your deck, I'd be for that.
God damn.
Scrap them for the better Falcon. Just keep going up.
Up.
I think that about
Man.
does it for this episode. I for one am extremely excited to play with the new cards. Like I said, always love when a new set comes out. There's a lot of cool, fun things to play with, and I love vehicles. So I'm really excited to play in vehicles, Meta.
Oh, man. Same here. I've always loved myself the ships, especially on the hero side. Like, it's classic Star Wars, man. Like, X-Wings and just getting all these, like, little snub fighters. I mean, I might as well just be playing X-Wing, but card games. Card games are cool.
I mean, X-Wing has cards.
At least it's not comboing anymore, but that's a different story with different podcasts that aren't us. But no, I think, yeah, that pretty much about takes us out for this week. We hope you guys opened some cool shit during all these sealed events and draft events. You guys better all go out and draft and play sealed in the next coming weeks because this is the best time.
Absolutely.
Because this is when the most people will show up.
Yeah, show up to your local stores. Support your friendly local game store.
Definitely. And with that, we're closing out. Again, this is the Artificery Crew. You can find us on our Discord as well as Patreon. Come support us. We throw out articles. Stuff's about to really pick up with the new set breaking down. And yeah, we're just excited to really get back into Destiny and into this new meta.
Looking to get the leg up at your next Star Wars Destiny event? Join the Artificery Patreon and get early access to our strategy and deck tech articles, exclusive Discord chat channels, training and playtesting with the Artificery crew, and unique gifts like tokens and playmats that take your Star Wars Destiny experience to the next level. Join the Artificery Patreon at patreon.com/the Artificery Crew.